What's going on, guys? Scouts311 here, and this is Warhammer Quest Silver Tower, a new board game from the Warhammer universe. Now, I am not really a Warhammer. This is the first Warhammer product I've ever bought, besides the card game, the Warhammer Quest Adventure card game, which I did enjoy. This is the first one I ever purchased with models, and these models are really cool, which is, Warhammer, the Games Workshop thing, their models, and they're unbelievably really cool. So, but I have not painted them, and I've never painted a model before. I know a lot of people expect, Warhammer things to be painted, so if that is something that you don't like, I apologize, but it will not be happening here. But I have I'm thinking maybe I'll try to paint these someday. But I almost feel like I'm going to ruin them more than help them, because I've never make them better in a way, because I've never painted miniatures before. So it's something I have to decide if I want to really try to do. But like I said, if that bothers you, then I apologize, but it's just the way it's going to be. So they're going to be their normal gray look here. But you can see here's the dwarf Fire Slayer, and you can see just the quality of these models are really cool. They come. You have to put them together. You have to glue them all together. It takes quite a while. There's like 51 maybe miniatures you have to put together. So it takes quite a while. Like this guy's beard, he basically had to put together. It's like they really come in quite a few pieces each, glue them together. But they're really, really cool looking. So what this game basically is a dungeon crawler. You're stuck in a tower. The heroes and villains, like some of these heroes aren't really heroes, so it's a cooperative game. But there's a little bit of competitive stuff. I can believe it when you get to the end. There's really only one main person who wins, but you have to work together to get through the game. So for the most part, you're working together to get through the trials. And what this game basically is there's trials. There's 8 trials that you work through, and every time you get through a trial, you get a piece of this, like this amulet that you can piece together. And when you get all the pieces, after you complete each trial, you get one. And when you get them all, then you can take on the Gaunt Summoner, is what he is, the main bad guy, who is in control of this tower. And we'll give a look at him, his model, which is really cool. As you can see, here's the Gaunt Summoner. His eyes are actually on the top of his head, like this up here. He has this book that he's stabbing with a dagger that's bringing out like flames. I really do want to paint these, but like I said, I'm almost nervous. I'm going to make it worse than they are, but I think I will attempt it someday. But yeah, just the models are so cool. So he's the main bad guy here. So what you do is there's an introductory quest, which I am going to run through here. So there's 2 books. There's a guidebook, and then there's the adventure book. So the guidebook kind of helps you learn how to play. The game is actually very simple in many ways. It is not a very difficult game to learn. So let's go through, I don't want to go through the rules too much. I kind of would rather just play, because it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty easy to figure it out. So just a quick run through of how you set the game up. You have your miniatures. Yeah, you have to assemble. You have your rune here, which is your, the rune of Tzeentch. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of this stuff. As I said, I'm not a Warhammer guy. I don't dislike it. I just never got into it. So basically it's a first player token, and whoever has it is called the rune marked player for that round. Then you take your heroes, set them up on the board. You have a fate board, which is basically this here, which is a really cool mechanic, where you roll these purple dice at the start of a round, and they're called destiny dice, and you can use those for your player to do actions, and the group shares them, things like that. This fate board also has, every player has a different color that resembles them that you choose. So we have blue, like a white, or I guess a beige, like a tan, a red, and a black. And everybody starts with their on the top here, and every time you kill an enemy, basically, or you do a certain renown action, each hero has a separate one, you gain a point of renown, or 2 possibly, and whenever you eventually go all the way around and back to the top, you get to pick 2 skill cards, these blue cards. You get to take 2 of them, and you keep one and you discard the other. And these give you special abilities that you can keep through the missions. And each card, for the most part, has a basic ability here, and then if your hero has a specific trait, like if your hero is swift, for example, it gives you an additional bonus, makes it even stronger. So, for example, the Mistweaver here, one of the heroes that we're going to be playing with, has a traits of Arcane and Swift. So if you would get that card for this hero, it would give you a little bit more benefit than it would for a hero that doesn't have that trait, which is pretty cool. So we have those, and then we have the purple deck is the treasure deck, and you can search for treasure throughout the game at different times, and you would draw from here, and these are treasures that are usually one-time uses, but sometimes a little more. And that is basically how this works. And then there are these destiny dice that you roll at the start of the turn, and we'll get into how that works as we play the game, because it would just be easier to explain it then. So this is all that. Then we have your tokens here that we're going to use. We have like different health tokens and stun tokens. These are portals that get put on the board where enemies can come out of, things of that nature. These are a couple extra little things that might come into play for different map tiles, things like that. So we go through that, explaining just basics here. Then you have the dice. Each hero has a different colored dice. So like the Fire Slayer Doomseeker, I'm just going to use red. You get to choose your color, but we'll use red for him. Black for the Night Quester. We have our Excelsior War Priest, who my son got a hold of and colored a little bit of these card, so it makes it get a little more color, I guess. He has the tan dice. And then the Mistweaver Saya, I believe, is blue. So those dice are how you do your actions, and we'll show that as we get into it. You have treasure cards and skill cards, like we said. You have chambers. When you start the game, you start on this first chamber here, where everybody sets up. That is called the Ingress chamber. And then there's other map tiles that are double-sided. So you have quite a bit of variety of map tiles to go with. Then you have the portals, the Ingress chamber, as I showed, the adventure book, and it begins then. And then the rest of this book basically gives you, how you play the game, things like that. The thing is, at the end of the book, it has tables for the enemies. So, for example, like these horrors here, it explains their actions that they use. There's different types of enemies that react differently. So, for example, there's a pink horror, a blue horrors, and brimstone horrors for these guys. And then there's a behavior table, which you roll on when the adversary turn comes up, and that explains how they're going to react for that round. And then there's like acolytes here, and there's 4 different kinds of them. There's one with a sword, there's one with a shield, there's one with a glaive, and one with two blades. They all react a little differently, which is pretty cool, and they have a behavior table. Every enemy has a behavior table, and depending on what model is used is how they react a little bit. So it's pretty cool. Alright, so we're going to get into the first mission here, or the first trial. It's not really a trial, it's kind of the beginning of the game. So we go to starting a trial in the adventure book. So, it is said there are many tales of the Silver Tower, as there are folk in the realms with the wit to tell them. Some are stirring stories of valiant heroes who overcame evil and saw justice prevail. Others follow bands of evil men seeking only power, or tell the tragic tale of defeat at the gaunt summoner's hand. The truth is that every tale of the Silver Tower is unique, an adventure full of terror, excitement, heroism, and horror. Now then, let us begin to tell our own. Okay, so starting a trial. Read this passage after you've set up your heroes in the Ingress chamber, as described on page 7, to decide which of the Gaunt Summoner trials you face. If this is the first trial, read The Legend Begins on the next page, then read passage 89. So this book, what's really cool about this book is there's tons of passages that randomly come up. So like this is number 78, number 79, number 40, depending on different die rolls and how things happen. These are events that happen, and they cause different things to happen in the tower. So this tower is like an ever-changing thing. It's like rooms come and go and disappear, and things appear, and it's like it's very cool, thematically done. So we're just going to go into The Legend Begins here, and let's take a look at this. So in a vast and statue-lined chamber did the champions first come together, whether by the dark designs of the gaunt summoner or the vagaries of fate and destiny. Each champion descended the winding stairs to face one another across the sigil-etched floor. How each had come to this place was an epic tale in itself. Why each had come remained a secret known only to them, yet it was clear that, for now, their paths were intertwined. It was then that the gaunt summoner's visage loomed above the champions in a blaze of unearthly light. In a booming voice, the summoner revealed that, should the champions wish to win his boon, they would have to best his trials. Only in this way might they gather the fragments of the scattered amulet upon which his true name was inscribed. Do this, the gaunt summoner promised, and the champions would have whatever they desired. Fail, and they would be his prisoners forevermore. With this, the summoner faded from sight, leaving only his echoing laughter, and a glowing portal leading on into the Silver Tower's labyrinthian depths. So there's our little intro. And then we go to number 89, as the game told us to. And the energies of the portal surged around the champions and propelled them down a twisting tunnel of light. Moments later, they stumbled from the portal's exit and into a strange new chamber. Regaining their composure, the champions squared their shoulders and steeled themselves against the dangers to come. Their first trial within the Silver Tower has begun. So before you go any further, you must construct the exploration deck for this trial as follows. Take the 7 exploration cards marked with a Hysh icon, shown above, so that icon there. Returning the rest to the box. You will not need them for this trial. Set aside the Librarian, Whirligig Passage, and 2 others at random. Shuffle the remaining 3 cards together. One of these is the Grand Chamber card, Searing Beams, but you will not know exactly where it is in the deck. Once the 3 cards are thoroughly shuffled, put them down next to the Ingress Chamber's exit. Next, take the Librarian and the 2 random cards you set aside, shuffle them together, and put them on top of the stack. And finally, put Whirligig Passage on top to complete the deck. Now return to the guidebook and begin your first trial. Okay, so that's how you set up the first game. So all these cards, these are the exploration cards. Great art on the back. They all show a different passage. They all have different text for what happens. So what you have to look at is this top left. There's different icons for the different trials. So we're looking for this icon. There's 7 cards that have that icon. So these are the ones we need to use. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, remember, make sure I got the right ones. So as I said, we take the Librarian card out and the Whirligig Passage out. We need to keep the Searing Beams for the other stack. And then we randomly grab 2 cards from these remaining 4. So we shuffle these up, and we grab 2 cards. Then we take the Searing Beams, put them back in the stack, shuffle these up to make... So the one that we're looking for is going to be in these one of these bottom 3s. So we put this next to the exit of the chamber, the next exit that we're going to go through. Then we take the Librarian card and the other 2, shuffle them together, put that on top of the stack. Alright. And then we place the Whirligig Passage on top. So this will be, no matter what, this is going to be the first thing that we have to run into in here. So we make this into one stack, and you always place the stacks through the next doorway. Okay, so that's that. So now, let's take a look at our heroes. So we have the Knight Questor. Go take a look at his model. He's kind of the tank of the group. So here's how he looks. This huge sword, big dude, huge. He uses one of the bigger bases. Awesome cape, awesome. I'll say it a million times, these models are so cool. Alright, so the Night Quester, he has a Warblade, a Thunder Charge Strike, Guard Stance, Challenge. He has traits, and for Renown, if any of his save rolls score a 6, you gain a Renown, which is kind of like your experience. So all this stuff we'll kind of go through as we play. So move 3, he can move 3 squares with a move. He has a 4+ save, so if he ever gets hit, you roll a die. If you roll 4 or more, you save, so you don't take the damage. You basically block it. And agility 5+, that's if you want to move away from an enemy. You have to make kind of like an escape roll in a way. Let's call it just an agility roll, 5 or more. So there's him. Then we have our dwarf, who I kind of showed earlier, the Fireslayer Doomseeker. He has a runic war iron, a Doomseeker axe, runic power. If he slays an adversary with a vigor of 3 or more, put the marker on the space above. Leave it there until there was a respite, basically a rest, or until you finish a turn in which you did not slay any enemies. While the marker is there, you add 1 to the damage of all your weapon actions. So he comes with this little marker here. If he slays an enemy with 3 or more vigor, I take that as saying like he has to do 3 damage to somebody who has 3 health left at least. I could be wrong, so if you know the difference to that, let me know. Then he gets this placed on his card. And until they take a rest, or he has a turn where he doesn't slay an enemy, he does 1 additional damage while this is here. He also has a throwing axe that you can use. He's unrelenting and bladeborn. And if he suffers 2 or more wounds in a phase, so 1 whole round, basically 1 whole phase of the game, he gets 2 renown. So he's better at taking damage. Well, he's not better at it, but if he takes damage, he'll actually get more experience. Then we have the Excelsior War Priest, who is right here. He has his book here and this Warhammer. Another very cool guy. Like, you had to actually glue this axe on separately. A whole bunch of this cool stuff going on. And he comes with a Gryph-hound as a little pet that he gets to use. So here's the Gryph-hound that he gets to command. So here's the card that my 2-year-old got a hold of. Made it nice and pretty in red there, but whatever. So he gets a Warhammer, and he gets a Light of Sigmar, which is an area attack, which is pretty cool. He has Sigmar's Boon, where he can heal. He has Command, where he can actually control the Gryph-hound. He is Celestial and Holy, and if he ever heals 2 wounds in a turn, he gets a Renown. So he gets bonus experience for healing people. 3 moves, 6 save, 4 agility. And then his Greyhound here has its own stats. 5 move, 2 vigor, 2 health, 3 agility. Noble, loyal, and true, the Gryph-hound defends its master and hunts his foes. So you can use a command action to choose any one of these to have the Gryph-hound do. So you can make him rest, you can make him defend, you can make him hunt. Now if the priest doesn't use one of his actions to control it, at the end of his turn, you roll, and the Gryph-hound kind of, depending on what you roll, is what action he does. So he still gets to do something. So when he attacks, you roll 2 dice. For each one that's 4 or more, he does 1 damage to an enemy. And he only has 2 health. If he takes 2 wounds, he gets removed from the board. Next time you rest, or get a respite, he comes back on the board. And the final one that we're going to look at is the Mistweaver Saya, I believe. That's how you say it. And this is kind of like the mage of the group. He has a melee blade attack, an illusionary assault, which is a missile attack range, and Bedazzle, which is really cool, which is an area attack that stuns the enemies. Glimmer Mist, if you put a die here, that's 3 or higher, it sits here until the end of the round, and any attacks that target either him or another hero in the same chamber, so it's the same map tile, will miss if it's rolled as this die. So say we put a 4 here, and somebody attacks one of our heroes, and he rolls a 4 for the hit die to hit the guy. It's considered a miss because he's placed a die here. If it's anything of the same die, it's considered a miss. So it's pretty cool. So he's arcane and swift, and if the attack for the illusionary assault is a 6, so if we roll a 6 for the attack roll for his range attack, he gets a renown. pretty awesome. Move 4, 6 save, so he sucks at saving. He'll get hit. If he gets hit, there's a good chance he's going to take the wound. And 3 agility. He's pretty fast to get away from guys. So those are our heroes. I don't think I showed the Knight Questor's traits. He's Celestial and Unrelenting. So that ties into the skill cards you get. So we're going to have the Knight Questor be the first player. He gets the token. And here are all the enemies, the different kinds of enemies that we're going to be using to play against, to fight with, or fight against us. And yeah, so we're set up to go. I think we're going to stop here and then get into the action in the next video. I don't want these to be too long. We're about 21 minutes in, I believe. So we're going to stop here and then we'll continue on in the next one to actually get the game going. So we can get a couple of turns in instead of just one turn and then stop. So thanks for watching, everybody who did, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Take care.